Well, Alan, what did you think of the Fabelmans?
Fabelmans, yeah. So Fabelmans, I don't think it's a secret. This is essentially Steven Spielberg's life as a child. Um, you know, I have an admiration for the Fabelmans. I don't know that I would give it an enthusiastic recommendation. But there's some interesting things that are going on here. First is it's a story of this young boy who has an artist mother and a genius scientist father, and you know, and they live a very comfortable life. And it's weird about this movie because both his parents love him. They love his sisters, you know. So this is a relatively happy family, but there's a little bit of discord going on. The father has to move to Phoenix because he has a great job lined up where he's revolutionizing the world of computers. And his son is not like his father, and but he loves film. He loves telling stories with film. In fact, as he grows up and goes into high school, he makes movies with his friends. So exactly what you expect from Steven Spielberg. And then there's the final move that the family makes from Phoenix to Northern California, where the character experiences a great deal of anti-Semitism, and that kind of book or ends that film. You know, it's the best way I say it. I enjoyed it. I like the story. You know, I love the aspects of filmmaking. I love the passion of the filmmaker. There's an interesting message in there where, you know, about the idea that this kid, he goes to the beach, goes on a camping trip and just films things, and then in the editing room he lets the story, he finds the story from all that footage, which plays a huge role in his life broadly. So I like that little artistic aspect to it. But in the end, it's like I don't know that I would rush out and see this movie again. You know, I took my daughter to see it, and she felt the same way. She admired it, but you know, I'm not really compelled to say, hey, I have to see this movie again. And so, you know, I give it a very mild recommendation.
Well, I'll say this. Here's the thing. I really, really love the Fablemans. It's, you know, Steven Spielberg's personal story. He did have uh, all this family turmoil. He grew up with a bunch of sisters. He made movies, including like a feature length World War II movie when he was a kid, and where he learned techniques. And while I personally love so many aspects of the film, just the era, you know, it's set in the 60s, this sort of dichotomy of the mother being an artist and the father being a more logic, you know, brained scientist and excelling in his career in that regard. um the sense of discovery with film and sort of how he became an artist by first seeing a movie in theaters called The Greatest Show on Earth, and then trying to recreate a scene from The Greatest Show on Earth with a train set that he got, and then a little 8mm camera. So the fact that also as he grew into high school, the lead character has like a 16mm wind up Bolex. I had a camera like that when I was a kid. I actually still have one. I have a Bolex on my shelf. In fact, I collect old antique cameras. I just I love them. They used to be cheap. It's one of those things you could get for $5 at a swap meet. So all the little fetishizing over film and discovering things like, for example, the techniques to make it appear as if they're shooting guns was just poking holes in the film itself. So it looked like gunfire was coming out of the weapons that they had, the toy guns. Uh, Love it. I love all that aspects, those aspects. However, this movie is going to fail. Fail at the box office. While it like I'm very aware that there are movies that I personally love that are not for everybody. And I do love like inside baseball types of films about like this is the movie that Spielberg has been remaking in his head since the trauma from his family and his the the dissolving of the family unit. It's in all of his movies. You know, it's the family dynamic plays a big part in Jaws. It plays a huge part in E.T. You know, when the mother, played by Dee Wallace, says he doesn't even like Mexico, you know, commenting on some weird thing that he would go off. The father would go off with some new woman to Mexico, you know, to get away. It's always something in a Spielberg film. So I love that aspect, and I love the idea of learning how to make movies by making mistakes and then by trial and error putting that together. I love that stuff. But this is not for everybody. It's the same thing like the movie we just talked about, Only in Theaters. It's a documentary about movie theaters and the struggles of keeping a movie theater chain running in Los Angeles. Who does that appeal to? Not very many people. Okay. Same thing with this movie, She Said, right? Like, that's a really, really good film, but it is completely lacks any self-awareness. So I don't know how these big vanity projects get
Mhm.
funded, because they are not going to make money. And
Yeah.
also, what
I
is
mean,
the
Armageddon Time is exactly the same thing. It's these
right?
movies based on the director's life, and you know, I don't want to go out and ultimately say, well, it's the ultimate act of narcissism, but you do have to find some story that's going to connect with people, and then also, you know, my take on Kantara, exact same thing. People really don't like my take on that because I'm a Westerner watching a film about Eastern culture, and I'm not able to connect with that, and you know that's why I didn't get into the movie as everyone else has. And same thing here. You know, clearly you enjoyed it a lot more because you were able to connect with aspects of this movie than
Yeah.
I was, and it's going to fail for the exact same reason I said. I don't have a desire to see it again, you know, and nor do I, nor can I. You know, I know people that I would recommend it to, and I know people I won't recommend it to, and so thereby you lower the ability for it to succeed.
Well, I'll just say again, your mileage may vary. Alan's not super in love with the Fablemans. I personally really enjoyed it, but if you're someone that really likes sort of inside baseball, how are films made? And what's interesting is you're not seeing, there've been a lot of movies made about filmmakers, right? Or things surrounding making films. These are making amateur films, home movies,
Mhm.
right? Like, in a way, this is a great pairing with, we just had Patrick Reed Johnson, who directed 52577. This is a really good pairing with that movie. Excuse me, if you like that movie, you're going to really love The Fablemans. You know, it's that filmmaker coming of age story, right? I think they're all of two movies that are like that, and these are the two. So I personally love it, but again, the caveat is this movie. You're right, Alan. This movie is not for everyone, but